During the early 17th, 18th, and 19th century, various parts of Europe as well as the US saw strong influence of classical design. This classical movement rejected more independent cultural styles of various countries and pushed for a more widespread universal style. Classical design was marked characteristically by such classical elements as ornamental facades, symmetrical plans, thick walls, and other classical elements such as columns, domes, and pediments. Neoclassical architecture derived from classical architecture, which was the original architectural style of the Roman Empire. This style of architecture for many countries symbolized the strength and the power of the Roman Empire, while representing a much cleaner, pristine style of architecture in contrast to earlier styles such as Art Nouveau. Columns, both Doric and Corinthian style, were used in neoclassical architecture all around the world. They were extremely popular in temple-inspired neoclassical design and used in everything from framing windows to accentuating porticos. Fanlight became an increasingly popular element in neoclassical architecture in the mid to late 18th century. At the latter half of the neoclassical movement, it became more popular to reduce the height of the door, replacing the upper register of panels with a fixed glazed panel, or fanlight, that admitted light to the hallway. Symmetrical facades are a defining characteristic of neoclassical architecture. During the classical movement, Grecian architecture was based on the Grecian rule of proportion, which included a strong concentration in architectural balance and symmetry. Transom windows, a rectangular window featured directly above the door. The style was very popular in the US and highly associated with Georgian neoclassical. Ornamental facades was a very popular characteristic of the Beaux-Arts neoclassical era. Beaux-Arts neoclassicism was a very rich, lavish, and heavily ornamented classical style taught at the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris in the 19th century. This had a strong influence both in France and the last phase of neoclassicism in the United States. Neoclassical architecture was a symbol of Grecian nationalism to the Grecian people. Classicism had originated in Greece close to 1,000 years prior, so the construction of neoclassical architecture was a very familiar style to emulate, since they had plenty of classical style buildings throughout Greece. The Apollon Theater, located in Patras, Greece, is one of four neoclassical style theaters still standing in Greece. The theater, which was completed in 1872, is one of the many municipal buildings designed in Greece by German architect Ernest Zoller. The Municipal Theater of Piraeus was built between 1890 and 1895 by Iolani Lazarimos, who was both a prominent architect and professor at the turn of the century. It features a Palladian-inspired neoclassical design, with the main entrance of the theater featuring a portico with 4 Corinthian columns and a pediment. In Germany, neoclassical architecture was associated with the lost golden age at a time of higher values. Neoclassical architecture's popularity became exemplified under the Third Reich because it was the preferred architectural style of Adolf Hitler. The AEG turbine factory was built around 1909 in Berlin and is considered to be one of the best-known works of architect Peter Behrens. Nicknamed the Temple of Power, its revolutionary design combines the classical elements of the past while simultaneously representing the future by utilizing a dynamic layout to house one of Berlin's largest source of electrical energy. Behrens' contemporary design utilized modern materials like glass, steel, and brick to make up a modern interpretation of columns that run on either side of the building's exterior. Neoclassical architecture in the 20th century in many Scandinavian countries followed a cleaner, more simple interpretation of neoclassicism in comparison to the Beaux-Arts movement in France. Neoclassical architecture in many Scandinavian countries culturally symbolized an overall sense of social democracy. Between 1910 and 1930, a movement called Nordic classicism briefly blossomed in Sweden, Denmark, Norway, and Finland. Its style was a combination of architecture based on traditional Nordic styles and neoclassicism. The Borgsen, located in Gothenburg, Sweden, was designed by Swedish architect Per Jonna Ekman. Its traditional classical features include a five-column portico which supports a wooden entablature followed by five bays. Its neoclassical style is a good representation of Palladian neoclassical style, which was a version of European neoclassicism based on the books of Italian Renaissance architect Andrea Palladio. Woodland Cemetery, as it's known in English, was designed by two Swedish architects, Gunnar Asplund and Sigler Lorenz, after they won an international design competition in 1915. The two architects designed everything from the landscape to the exterior lighting fixtures used throughout the cemetery. The cemetery's revolutionary design features a combination of both neoclassical and Nordic classical elements that work with the natural landscape to create a serene environment that went on to inspire several cemeteries around the world. The Resurrection Chapel, which is featured to the right of the screen, was a highly acclaimed design at the time because it was considered the perfect combination between neoclassical design and a traditional Nordic hut. In the Soviet Union, neoclassical architecture was a very popular style of architecture among the political elite. Its style was thought to have expressed state power and was one of the more popular styles of architecture in the 20th century. The Fyodor Shaktal was a Russian architect, graphic designer, and stage designer. He is considered to be one of the most influential and prolific masters of Russian Art Nouveau in the late Russian Revival. While his architectural style was more noted in the Art Nouveau movement, he did design a few neoclassical styles, including his own house, which is featured here. Neoclassical architecture in the United States as well as France followed a parallel influence of the Beaux-Arts style of neoclassicism. This helped to emphasize their political ties to each other. The Pantheon, located in the Latin Quarter of Paris, France, was designed by Jacques-Germain Soufflot. The building's construction initially began in 1758 but was not completed until 1790. Its traditional neoclassical temple style features a decorative facade that was styled after the Pantheon in Rome. The St. Genevieve Library was designed and constructed between 1838 and 1850 under the direction of architect Henri Lebrousse. Due to its neoclassical temple-inspired design, it was called a temple of knowledge and a space for contemplation. The Library of St. Genevieve is located in the Latin Quarter across from the Pantheon. It's rumored that Henri Lebrousse added the leafy garland featured above the first level exterior window as a gesture of respect for the Pantheon design. The Lincoln Memorial, whose construction was completed in 1922, was originally designed and commemorated our 16th President, Abraham Lincoln. It features a Beaux Arts neoclassical style strongly resembling a Greek Doric temple. The United States Capitol building was first completed in 1800 in a traditional neoclassical style under the supervision of Irish architect James Hoban, later completed by George Hadfield. The Capitol's building process was started in 1793 but was burned by the British in 1814, rebuilt, and extended by 1850. Its neoclassical style features a columned portico, symmetrical plan, and modillions molding around the exterior edge. As of now, neoclassical architecture still stands as a prominent style which is now classified under neoclassical, neohistoricism, or neorevivalism. Its clean lines and association with power has made it a successful style of architecture that still continues to make its way into modern architecture in the 21st century.